Hello guys, I'm Atharva Lotke from NID Ahmedabad. I'm in my second year. I'm doing animation film design. I got AIR 23. In today's conversation, we'll talk exactly about that, how I went about my preparation. Hello everyone. If you are studying for NID or any design entrance exam, then this video might just change the way you study. Because today I'm going to talk about the most important skill that you can learn for NID. Something that will decide if you will be in the top 1% students or not. And no, it's not your creativity, it's not your ability to come up with great ideas, it is your ability to represent your ideas. So let's get into it. So why drawing is so important? Now, in NID prelims, there are two main things that get tested: your ability to generate ideas, and second, your ability to represent those ideas. The problem is, your ability to generate ideas are not always reliable. Some days you'll have amazing ideas, other days your brain will feel kind of empty. Even professional designers sometimes take weeks or even months to come up with great ideas. So if you only rely on your creativity, that's kind of risky. That's why it's so important to build skills that you can depend on. Skills that will work for you even on a bad day. And one such skill is drawing, obviously. It's your ability to represent your ideas visually. When you know how to draw, like you really understand the fundamentals, you can take any idea, no matter how simple or complicated, and represent it in the best possible way. If you ask me to wake up in the middle of the night and draw something cool, make a cool composition, I can make that really easily. But if you ask me to suddenly come up with a new product idea or a new story ideas, that's much harder because that requires a lot of thinking. Drawing is like a muscle. The more you train it, the more it supports you. Now, before we get into the main topic, I want to tell you guys a short story. So when I first started preparing for NID, I joined a coaching class. On the first day, a lot of my classmates said that they had great ideas, but they just couldn't represent them properly. 2 years later, after all the practice and classes, we gave our NID prelims. And after the exam, guess what they said? They said the same exact thing. I had great ideas, but I just couldn't represent them well. That's when I realized it's not enough to just have ideas. It's not enough to just be creative. You have to learn to show them, to show these ideas properly. And that comes only when you put in the time to learn drawing properly. Drawing like a designer and not like an artist. Now, before we move on, there's one very important thing. We want to learn to draw like a designer, not like an artist. Our goal is to not make super realistic portraits or detailed paintings. That falls in the realm of fine art. Design drawing is different. It's a medium of communication. You're using your drawing, you're using your ability to represent visually to talk to the examiner. You're showing them what's inside your head, clearly, simply, and effectively. So when you're learning to draw for design, the focus should be on clarity, storytelling, and not perfection. Now, here's something that many students get wrong. They start copying other artists' work or just randomly drawing figures without actually understanding the basics. And honestly, that will not lead you anywhere. Because when you copy without understanding, you're only training your hand and not your mind. You're not actually learning why a drawing looks good or how perspective works. You're just repeating shapes. That's like trying to memorize the answer to a math test instead of learning how to solve the problem. So instead of copying blindly, what you need is a structured learning plan. Something that helps you understand what to learn, how to learn, and why you're learning it. You've probably heard the quote, practice makes perfect. But I don't think that's true. Perfect practice makes perfect. You can practice every single day for years, but if you're learning the wrong way, you're just getting better at doing it wrong. Think about that again. That's why smart work is more important than just hard work. You need to understand the basics, follow a structured plan, practice the right methods, and that's how you actually grow fast and effectively. So now that we understand why drawing is so important, let's talk about how to learn it the right way. That's why we have brought in this video series to guide you through exactly that. In this series, we will learn the basic fundamentals of drawing, all the way from holding the pencil the right way to being able to draw complicated scenes from imagination. For design entrance exam like NID, you mainly need to learn two big things. First being perspective drawing, and the second is figure drawing. Perspective drawing is the foundation of everything you'll draw. It helps you showing depth, space, and form. Basically, how objects exist in 3D space. Once you understand perspective, you can easily draw rooms and interiors, vehicles, products, comic panels, posters, and compositions. We'll start from the very basics. Before we even jump into perspective, we'll learn on how to hold the pencil first, how to control your strokes, how to draw confident lines with the right amount of line weight. Then, we'll go ahead step by step, 1 point, 2 point, and 3 point perspective. We'll also get into bird's eye and ant's eye view. We'll start with simple forms like cubes and cylinders and slowly move to more complicated shapes and compositions. After having a firm understanding of perspective principles, we'll move on to figure drawing. We'll use all the information and the knowledge that we have accumulated through the perspective drawing course, and we'll apply that in the figure drawing part as well. We'll learn how to draw dynamic figures in dynamic poses, in motion. We'll also learn how to draw gestures and make your drawings look more alive and dynamic. We'll talk about how we can draw the human head and the body and break it down into very simple form and draw it from multiple angles. Now let's talk about all the material you'll need for this course. You'll need a pencil, an eraser, and some cheap copier paper or newsprint paper. You might also want a ballpoint pen or a charcoal pencil depending on its availability, but it's not necessary. And again, this video is just the first part, or you may call it an introductory part to our full series that we're creating, where we'll take you from absolute basics of drawing to a level where you can represent your ideas that pop in your head with ease. So if you're preparing for NID 2026 or 27, make sure you subscribe and follow this series. Thank you so much for watching and best of luck.
Bye.